Let's make them 20 by 20. You have these hexagons, right? And you want to hang them a couple in a row,
Y-
I think, if I remember your sketch.
Yes.
And
Yes.
now you're saying something
Yes.
about how to do this. There should be some kind of like a frame around this that holds it together, uh,
Right.
because there will be wires going here and here and here. Um, but this frame, and you want to give it
Exactly.
some depth. What you can do, but I'm not sure if you to consider this, you can make like something. Let's give it a bit of a. Let's say this is quite a thick piece of wood. So the white is not there, and it's only the black is the actual wood part. And you can make a second one that is just slightly bigger or smaller, and have them overlap so you can glue them on top of each other, if you know what I mean. And then you
But you're
get this.
saying to do that with.
Yeah, you'll get this. I can even maybe show it because I'm not really sure if I understand what you mean with your multiple rectangles make
Okay.
a hexagon. So maybe you can, if you have a illustration of this or something you can show us, then we can help or think about how to accomplish this.
Okay. I I don't yet. So what I wanted to do was to cut the acrylic,
Hmm.
the sheet of acrylic into maybe like into six rectangles that could be pieced together to make a hexagon, the outer frame of the hexagon. Does that make sense? Or if
So
not, I can try to figure.
you have six uh, rectangles, like actual just squares or an actual rectangle.
Mm-hmm. So I'm sorry, I'm not describing it. So if you were to turn that shape that you're working on right now into a
Haha.
rectangle, and then imagine, into a wider rectangle, wider than it is, because those are more like a square.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So if I had six like that and I glued them together to make a hexagon, does that make
So you
sense?
mean like doing basically like this stuff and then repeating it a couple of times so you get a shape? Or is that also
Yeah,
not what you
I
mean?
think that's what you mean. But I mean piecing them together at the edges.
Ah,
So at
okay.
the
So you mean more like on like on a corner piece or
yes, yes. So that they would make a 3D hexagon, if that makes sense.
hmm.
That's I'm having such a hard time.
Yeah, I
I
can
can see it in
imagine.
my head, but I
Yeah.
can't explain.
Well, what you can do is just try to draw this out, because a hexagon by nature is, I believe, a two-dimensional shape. So a 3D hexagon sounds
Uh-huh.
interesting. Uh,
Okay. Yeah, because I'm like if yeah, I don't know how to explain it. Okay, so I'll try. I'm gonna hand draw it for you because
yeah, perfect.
I get frustrated in Illustrator, so I'm gonna try to hand draw it for you and I'll email you a photograph of it,
Yeah,
okay?
of course, please do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
um, yeah, there's two more guests in our Teams meeting. How are you doing? Can I help you with anything? Do you want to test a little thing you already made? The laser cutter is available at the moment, so maybe you want to participate.
I just sent the SVG file in the email address
Oh yeah, I see it
that I
here.
made for the black foam board.
Okay, yeah, yeah, exactly. Let's see. I will open this in Illustrator. Ah, okay. And this is just for cutting?
Yeah, this is just for cutting. I didn't know if I was arranging them correctly though.
Oh, this is nice because at some point you can't get more effective than what is there. But my question is, so you'll get two shapes. You'll get this shape in the middle, and then you'll get this outer shape that has a hole in it. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay.
So it would
Uh,
be kind of like a ring principle, except it's deformed, I
yeah,
guess.
yeah, okay, okay. And this is already the right size. Well, as we told Talk this morning, the foam board is not here at the moment.
Yes, it's.
So I'll
I also have two small pieces, but I wrote in the email that they might just cover a third of it.
Ah, okay, yeah. Yeah. Okay, yeah, but I have, because you want to make this twice, or are they all different? Are there different
No,
sizes?
it's the different sizes. It's
Okay,
everything is accounted for.
yeah, okay. So if I make another artboard here with the same A4 size, the other part will fit on it.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, it's carrying it already, of course. Very good. Let's see if I can get you on here. Oh yeah, that fits quite nicely. Very good. Okay, then well, then we can make this tomorrow, of course. Alleen this one has a missing a shape, maybe, or
It's just the shape. It's not the very bottom part, but the second to the bottom. So there's kind of like a tray principle.
ah, okay,
So
yeah.
it's not a hole at the bottom.
Because you will stack all these on top of each other, or what's gonna happen?
Yes, I will stack them, and this is like the part that it doesn't have a hole in it is the
Yeah.
one not on the very bottom. There's gonna be a bigger one of the bigger ones is gonna be on the very bottom, so there's some stability.
All right. And how did you make these? Did you just draw these out all by hand, or did you use another program to make
No,
sure they stack?
I used mm, distortions,
Ah, okay.
distortion effects, I guess,
Yeah, and then you just
for
kind
the
of
vectors.
you just put them kind of on top of each other to check if they can still overlap and be glued, I guess, or
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, interesting. This will be an interesting little sculpture. See what will happen. You might also consider not just making this out of that foam board, but just doing a series from different materials. So you can say what happens if I make this from thin cardboard or thicker cardboard, what happens if I make it from acrylic. Um, just because they will be stackable anyway. This is not really material thickness dependent, I would say. So
The only problem with acrylic would be the glue, right?
yeah, we need to get the acrylic cement because I have plastic glue here, um, but you can kind of see it through it. It becomes this. Well, you don't. It's kind of in the way. It removes the beauty of the acrylic a little bit. But yeah, tomorrow when I'll take the black foam board with me, I'll cut that for sure. And with your permission, I will also cut it from different cardboards, if that's okay.
Okay.
And what will you do with
And
the inner
at
parts?
what time do I bring my own like small pieces of foam board?
That is up to you. If you want to be here when we're cutting it, I would recommend being here tomorrow. I would say at 10 or yeah, between 10 and 11 if that's okay for you.
Okay, yes,
Yeah,
of course.
and because then there won't be a lot of people here, and then we can because this will your file seems to be perfectly in order. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just well, it is it two shapes or what's happening? Oh, it's this one and this one. Okay. Well, I can already check what the laser cutter does if we send this there, just to see if the time it takes to cut seems reasonable, because that usually is a good way to find out if it's okay. No, it's not this. It was the the MG. Yeah, okay. It's just one layer, I think. Yeah, okay. But now everything is on it, as you can see. So what I will do is in the saving of it, save it as and use the artboards. So we have both artboards separate as SVGs. Let's put it on one just to be sure. Now we should have 1 and 2. Very good. We'll bring in 1 and we'll turn it. We'll center it, and I think you can already try this. It said we can try this before. Otherwise, I'll just turn on the machine just to see if it can help us calculate how long this will take. And my question is also, you're gonna have these shapes that are hollow on the inside. Are you planning on doing something with the remaining shape that is on the inside?
Yeah, I was wondering if I could check if there was a way to optimize that space as well, if it could be used for the smaller pieces where there are bigger pieces.
Well, it doesn't seem like your smallest piece might not fit in your.
Yeah.
Well, this one might fit, you know. This one could maybe not. No, I don't
No,
think.
yeah.
Well, sometimes it just doesn't work out, but you should at least save the parts that you have left over,
Mm-hmm.
because they are interesting shapes. Laser cutting starting up. All right. It is connected to the Wi-Fi, yes. 3 minutes, that sounds perfectly reasonable for this amount of cutting. Especially with very low, very normal speed, yeah, okay. Alright, so if you just come by tomorrow between 10 and 11 and take your own foam board too, and I have the foam board from here, then we can at least cut
Mm-hmm.
these. And yeah, it might be an interesting little sculpture. Cool.
I do have a question if there's PVA or some other type of glue for the foam board already there, or
Yeah,
should
I
I
have,
bring my own?
no, there's PVA here, yeah.
Okay,
And there's
okay.
even like those Brit stifts, I'm not sure what they are called here, like for paper stuff. That usually is also very fine, especially for these kind of small paper-based glue works. But both are here, you don't need to take any.
Okay.
Alright, do you have any other questions? Otherwise I will kind of set up a cutting job for one of the students here who already sent me something and we can watch how that's being cut. Um, I see another one in our teams, Guillaume. Maybe it's a French name, I believe. Maybe you have something to add to it, or you want to send me some files or ask some help. Otherwise, I will start a cutting job for a student here. Sabrina has maybe a question.
Oh yeah, I did. I sent you an email with the illustration of what it is that I mean that I'm trying to describe to you, but not communicating very well.
Yes.
But whenever
Okay.
you have a chance.
Yeah. No, I see it here. Okay. It's now it
Okay.
becomes all good. Like now I see what you mean. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then in this way it can stand on its own. This is very interesting. And then you'll have to think indeed about how you're gonna lock the joints, basically. Um,
Yes.
which is very possible. Well, the thing you'll have to think about is like what will happen is when you have two of these overlapping parts, one of them will be like this, and it's a 3D part, so it has a little width going to it. And then the other one will also come in here, and that will also have some width to it. So there will be this gap in between where it doesn't completely fit. What you can do, I think it's MakerBox or something. There's this website. This is really cheating for laser cutters.
Okay.
But as you can see, this can generate for you a layout of a box type stuff. So in this case, you want a polygon
Okay.
box, and you want some with 6 sides, I believe.
Yes.
And yeah, well, it's an open box, so it doesn't have a thing, and we can ignore the bottom part. But this is what I meant. You see these splits here.
Okay.
And you
Yes.
can say, I want finger joints, so you get this, but you'll still get these, it's just the way this is shaped. Um, but you can make the size of the fingers really small, so we have a lot of overlapping fingers. It is a shame that you can't say to remove the bottom, but I think we can just edit the SVG file, get out of this. But this is a little, yeah, I guess, trick how to work
Okay.
with this.
And so it has to be that kind of way to join the sides. It can't be that I have it can't be that I have them cut at an angle so that they
No,
can fit together.
that's,
Yeah,
I know
I
what you mean.
understand.
Then you have to do that manually. That's unfortunately not in the scope of this kind of laser cutter. There are laser cutters, I think, who can do this, but then you
Okay.
have a whole workbed who gets slanted into an angle. But yeah, with this laser cutting, it's not going to be possible. and the length will be very
Okay.
small,
Fair enough.
millimeters.
Okay.
Site length. Well, you can. Well, did you see what the website is called? Makercase.com.
Yes.
Okay, I
Yeah.
would
I'll play
say,
around with it.
yeah, play around with this, and you can download the box plans, I think, as SVGs, as it says. And here you can even get like a double
Okay.
layered, so it will engrave for you whatever the site is, but that's for you not possible, or not that necessary. So you can say disable the labels and, you know, do kind of
Okay.
that kind of
So
stuff.
just my one other question is that at the top, on the top of the polygon, I'll have to have holes to be able to put the nylon
Yeah,
string through.
yeah. So what you can do is
Okay.
when you download this kind of stuff, it's just an SVG file, and then you have a really nice starting point in Illustrator to work with. So you can say, okay, let's say
Okay.
this is my, I'll ungroup this stuff, but let's say this middle one is my, where am I? Ungroup it. I'll just go in here. This will be your top that needs the holes, and then you can just, with a tiny little circle tool, make a hole that's, well, for that kind of wire, it will be a tiny hole, I think, so 1 millimeter will be fine. You know, like something like this.
Okay.
And then space these
Okay.
out, and yeah, kind of visualize for you where they need to go.
Okay. Well, okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, okay, well, I'm interested to see how this will work out. I think it might become something very nice, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Or a horrible mistake.
Well,
Thanks.
and those are always very interesting. Oh, yeah, no problem. Okay, I think I will cut something for this person who is here. Might be nice, yes. As you can see on the screen, this was sent by one of the students here, and he wants to have this engraved. These are quite interesting pieces of engravements. And we still need to figure out what to engrave them on. That is up to the student itself. We can cut a little piece of wood, but yeah, okay, he's saying he might want to have some wood. I brought a thicker piece there as well. So if you want, you can cut out with a little, or just the wood that was here. Okay, like just engrave it on this kind of stuff. All right, just the wood that we have here. Okay, then I think. Did someone come in? Ah, someone is joining us. Very good. Hello. We'll put this in. You can do the focusing? Yeah. Okay, very good. I will. Sometimes after I'm doing stuff, it gets stuck. It's very good. Like these motors are left locked in place, and there's a little workaround. You go to maintain. Sometimes you get this weird sound. It's trying to find the edge, and it can't find it immediately. So the motors are really pulling. But we can disable the motors here, I think, and go back, and then it should be able to be movable. Yeah. All right, so the wood is nice and in place. I like to, when you put the material down, there is some little edge here where you can see the honeycomb grid under it, and on the top I also would like to have it visible because it will give some space for the smoke that's coming from underneath to escape it. So there's more exit ways basically. Okay. Does it focus at all? Otherwise I will just focus it myself. No, it seems to be focused. Okay. Are they already into size? I don't need to do anything about them? Oh, this is 10 by 10 in total. Okay. Well, it's an SVG already, so we'll go here and we'll remove whatever I had from the previous. We will have it this one. It's one layer. Yeah, this is 10 by 10. It says here, see the width and the height, 95 by 96. And now there's the question, what settings do we use for the engraving? We can look at this program's presets, like what do they recommend for wood, and then we want, let's see if there's wood engraving here, and they say 25% power and 150 speed. We can try this, see what it does, and it will do it once. You can also make it do a lot of extra turns, but I don't think that's necessary. You focused it, right? I see that the thing is up, so that's good. Let's see how long this will take. 6.5 minutes. Oh, that's quite nice. It's not that bad for engraving. We'll open this because this will also create some smoke. Let's see. I will also turn on the camera for this, of course. Because now we'll see engraving. Yesterday we only saw cutting, but now today we will also have engraving. And we should go a bit closer so you can see the wood getting darker there. So it's using 25% of its power, but because it's going so fast, there's only the top layer. Sometimes you see a little spark, depending on what type of the wood it's hitting. Somewhere in the wood there might be some more sap or residue or something that can spark a flame. But there's something very interesting about engraving, slowly building the picture. Sorry? Yeah, it's very nice to see this being built. Yeah. Well, it seems to be going okay. And this is quite good information for everyone here too. Even though this was a vector-based file that we saw in the Illustrator, because it has an infill, this BMO software instantly knows, okay, I need to do the entire infill. So I'm not going to go around the edges and follow the lines. No, I'm looking at this as an engraved image. So that is very good too. I think we can also show how to actually just make a picture happen on the wood. That might also be nice. So it's almost done with one of them. I think we can just kind of let this run. Oh, it's starting with the next one, yeah. Ah, this is interesting. I think now it's doing both this image and this image at the same time. So an SVG is quite an interesting file. There's layers in there that we don't see. And you can imagine that it's now making this enormous distance from left to right to left. So it's losing time because there's a lot of part in its journey where it's not doing anything, right? So if you're going to have a lot of little items you need to engrave, the best way to do it is put them in columns. So it will do one column first and then the next column. Because now it's doing all the way this. And there's so much space in that journey that there's nothing happening. So that's why this one goes more than twice as fast as these two pictures, even though this is only half of the size. Because there's such big movement happening. But I think it looks quite nice, this setting for the wood. Yeah. Well, we'll let it be, and very good. Because what we're gonna do now is, oh, this is interesting. Those little squirrely lines. I think it really started doing quite fast there, right? Yeah. So if we look here on these squirrely lines in the original one, so these were actually lines. So these are not infilled path, and you can see it has a stroke and not an infill. So that's why it went really faster. I think like it went everywhere super quickly. Okay, and now we want to make sure we can cut it out. So we didn't touch the wood, it's in the same place. So we can just import it here and it should be fine. So let's, the student already made some adjustments to the file. He made a second layer, which was this one, and this one contains these 4 squares. We just need to give the square a edge like this. And then it should be okay. And now we can just, maybe what will be good is if we can copy this artboard like this. and then remove it on this side. So now we just have split in two artboards, and we can just say we want artboard number 2. So we can save this as, and this is not a cutting, so this is cuttings. Use the artboards, and we want only the second artboard. Save it. Okay, and let's see what happens if we put it in here. Layer. Okay. I think we moved the original tiny bit, but we can put this like here, right? This should be okay. Or is it now a bit more to the right, maybe? As you can see, this is layer 1, this is layer 2. I think we can lock this layer so it's not movable by us, and we just move this one. Okay, well, I do know how to cut wood, and it needs high power and a very slowness, and I'm even giving it slightly more power, 60%. Let's see how long this will take. 3 minutes and 20 seconds. That's just because it's moving so slow. So. Well, one of the things I'm already noticing is a lack of smoke on. Oh, now there's smoke coming there. See? And you kind of want to see the smoke because it means that the laser got through. Otherwise, there's nothing to. Because now you see a lot of smoke on the left and right. I can kind of show it also to the people here. There's a lot of smoke happening, which is usually a good sign because it means it's really cutting through. So this is an interesting challenge because, as I said, this cutter is sometimes struggling with this limit of this thickness of the material. So you can see what happens when it cuts halfway through or all the way through. So you can see here that where there's a nice sharp black line, that usually means it cuts really cleanly through. But here, for instance, you see these tiny white parts. And it can depend on the type of wood, like this is really almost getting through. This one just needed a little tick. This one has a big piece there that just didn't make it. It can depend on the wood. You can imagine that like here, at some point, something grew. So it's just based on how the wood got made. They're asking if they can cut this. And this is, if you look at it, it has the paper back and it's an acrylic. But the thing is, how sure are you that it's acrylic? 100% sure. Okay, that's good enough for me. And I would say, if you can, cut out a tiny piece so we can test some settings. And then if that works flawlessly, let's go for it. Then you can have a beautiful inlaid shiny thing. Yeah. Let's see where he went. I need to ask him some questions about, as you can see, the program he used to slice these files. They also add the boundary. So that's the actual boundaries of what has to be cut. They show us the frame of the pre-mentioned size and annotations, which is nice if you want to create it afterwards, so you know that this was Z4 and this was Y5 and where does every slice go. But I'll ask him if he's back, if he wants to have these engraved or that he wants to. Caspers. The DXF here has 3 layers. There's the frame that we're not going to need, but there's also the annotations. And your slices will interlock and there will be something covering everything, right? So what might be handy is that because we have 2 layers, we can tell this layer to be a small engraving. Like engraving with the lowest of settings, so you get a tiny letter. But you can also just know that this is body 0, and just kind of figure out as you go along, because you'll need to make all these pieces fit, you know. As a SVG this time, I guess that's body 0. Yeah, that's fine. Let's try it with this one. Can you calibrate the laser? So you can first press back here because we're done with this job. Yeah, if it's just standing on it, it's fine. And then just move the thing back up. Yeah, it's always a step you should not forget. I think we have some problems. with the file entering. You can see it doesn't connect anything, see? We'll use the DXF file. I will remove this stuff and merge everything down so it's all empty. I will take the original DXF file. I do want to have it, like this is that problem. We can check if 25.4 works or if it becomes enormous. And I think it got enormous, see? So it's all the way on the right of our screen. So that's about some important settings. I will close this and start it again, otherwise we'll never get rid of it. Okay, what I like is that we'll have on both sides, you can really have an opening of the honeycomb, so smoke can really get away from both sides. 0. Let's try this 1. That looks way better, right? Yeah, okay. And this time it's actually connecting. Again, we have those 3 layers we saw in Illustrator 2. We can say to frame we do not need to, so I'll just click on the frame and delete it, and also delete the layer. So we just have these 2 left. Let's move these to the middle of it, I guess. And this is the boundary that actually needs to be cut. So let's do the... I do have an idea. We should maybe test a good setting for the engraving. Or we're not doing the engraving anyway, because it will be very self... Let's try? Okay, let's try it. And I'll put it in the middle. We had this picture of that cutting test for the for this type of cardboard. This is the 2.5-ish millimeter cardboard. So we'll find that, and it was, I think, here. And for the cutting, I think 14 and 25 is good. So for the boundary, we need 25 and 14. And for the annotation, it should go quicker, I think, because engraving usually is like 180 millimeters a second. And let's give it 15% power. This is really just an intuitive way of thinking what will happen. Yeah, this is the engraving. The only thing is it will take some time because it needs to go all around. So this will, well, I can show you. If we don't engrave, the cutting takes us approximately 3.5 minutes, well, a bit almost 3.25. But if we also engrave, then it suddenly becomes... Oh, that's interesting. As I said, I think it will not engrave them as a filled surface, but it will follow the lines of the... Because these are stroked. These are just lines, not shapes. So let's try this. Let's see what happens. And we can always up the ante there. Well, you can see it's not showing up at all. So 15% in this case is way too little. And the speed is quite high. So I think we'll just abort this because this is not necessary for us. So the annotation should go maybe way slower, say 80. Sometimes like 5% power makes such a big difference for stuff. Well, it got 4 seconds longer or 3, so that's nice. And we can show the people at home how quickly this is moving. Now we get little stuff, but it's so small. Oh, you can see it. No, you can see this. This is fine. Not sure if it pops up on the camera. I think it's too subtle for it. But there's little marks it's making. But because it's the width of the actual hair of the laser, it's so small. Yeah, that slicer program is really fun to play with. Especially because you can use it on giant objects. So you can, even if you have a really big CNC router in a fabric somewhere, then you can make furniture or something. See, cardboard is so nice, it cuts so well.
So this is Wi-Fi, and these are Z, so these are the older ones, and this goes on top. It's just the rotation, I think, is the same. No, it's not.
Can we maybe take a look at the engraving of it? Because it is visible, right? Yeah, it does help. So maybe I can show it here, but you see a tiny engraving of stuff. Yeah. Oh, this is very visible on the stream too. Yeah, nice. Oh yeah, so you do get, because you set it to 2 millimeters, right?
Yeah.
And this material is actually 2.5, so you can see it frummels up a bit. So we might have to go to 2.3 maybe, 2.4. It's good for people to know, and maybe also for the students here. If you're gonna cut acrylic, you can imagine that sometimes the laser is in a place that underneath the acrylic is the honeycomb pattern, right? And because it's transparent, that the moment it hits that metal of the honeycomb pattern, there's a little spark back because it's hitting metal. And you don't want your acrylic to be damaged by this. So there's this protective layer, which is usually only used when it's being shipped, so they can be stacked on top of each other and they don't scratch. But you can leave it on because it really doesn't bother the cutter. And then you have this protective little film that can stop these tiny sparks damaging your acrylic, basically. Now you can move the laser head to the middle of the work plane. So here, and just put it towards you. And on this point you can really focus the laser. Yeah. So there's that little acrylic piece. Yeah. You want to move that down. And you might find that it will not fit, which is okay because the last one was lower. So now you take this ring and you twist it so it loosens up. It's one or the other way, you will find out which. Did you open it up?
Yeah.
Now just lift the entire thing. Sorry, you can, here on this black part, you can really lift it. And you might want to use two hands actually. One to lift it, and that's this part here. That lift it up. And then with your other hand, you can push that piece of acrylic so it actually is straight down. And I don't think it's straight down. Is it straight down or is it still a bit of an angle? You really want it to have, yeah, this looks better. And now just if you let go, it should just be standing, right? Now twist the locking mechanism again. And now, yeah, now it's good. And now you can raise that piece of acrylic. So we now know now that the distance between the laser focusing ring and the piece of material is the right distance for the focus. You can close the lid into our BMO stuff, and we want layers. Now it's better. You can move this stuff. Boundary is not necessary anymore. We have layer 1, which is the inside, and layer 2, which is the outside. Okay, and acrylic, and I have found this to be very weird, but if you go to the presets of acrylic, 3mm cutting, it will tell you it needs quite high power and slow speed. This is not true. You can really get away with like 35%, which will save a lot of energy, and it will also... Now we need to do, and that's also nice why we're keeping this little protective blue film on it, because if we're going to make a preview, you can imagine if it's a purely transparent piece of acrylic, the camera doesn't see it because it's just transparent. But now because it's blue, I can make a little picture here and you can see that there's a, well, maybe, but there's the protective layer space in the bottom. You might see this here. Yeah, you can see the acrylic layer, right? So there's a difference in color. And I think we can just move yours a bit down. Let's put it here. Okay. 1 minute and 8 seconds. This will also create some smell. I hope it will ventilate out enough. I will make sure that the ventilation shaft is really outside. See, there's this white line, and sometimes you see the little spark. Do you see those? Let's see if we can get a better angle. So whenever it's going over this honeycomb pattern, you see a tiny spark. For the cutting test? Okay, we'll try to cut this. And I think what we should do is cut it upside down.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because otherwise it will just shoot back the laser and it will not really be... which might not be too bad, but it will cut the acrylic through, but it might stop at the paper stop. But we can try this. Let's see what happens. It's very nice and flat. So let's get you a bit in the middle. Let's take away the edge. Let's take away at least these. But why does it also want to remove then this part? What layer are you? Ah, okay. I will lock this layer because I want this. I will remove this stuff. Ah, this is the locked layer, I guess. And I want to move these. Kind of want to move this up. Can I go do this faster than this? Oh, we're getting there. We're getting there. Okay. So now we know that this will be done first. And you can see that this layer is just engraving. So it's already set to an engraving kind of thing. It's already high speed with relatively high power. And we can check every square. So if we check this square, like let's go to a square like this one. It has 35 and 8, which was 8 and 35, so it should be that one, and yeah, that's what it is. Very good. Let's try this. Let's get a camera test going. Remove what is there. Is the bottom side? Ah, now we got the bottom side. Okay. Let's move this. So let's move you here, I guess. This will be just cutting into nothing, but that's fine. It's not gonna worry about that. All right. How long will this take? It has to think a lot about to make the optimal path for this because there's so many layers and elements. Okay, let's see if this works. And this really will be a case of stay with the laser because this is an unknown material with paper and acrylic, so it might be interesting. I just paused it because it's now going to the 20%, and I'm kind of sure that's for this material with too little. And this is just higher speeds, which is usually also, especially for cutting, like cardboard can go higher speeds up to 20, but actual rough materials cannot. So even the 25 worked for you, it seems. And it cuts it quite beautifully. I can show to the camera. You can even have like an engraving inside because you don't feel this.
Oh yeah.
So that's quite a cool effect. So we got this engraving on this side to tell us what is what. And then because it's of course a transparent layer, you get a mirror image, but you don't feel this engraving because there's acrylic in front of it. So that's quite a cool effect. Hi.
Hey, hey there. I emailed you something, and I emailed you twice, but the most recent email has my most recent version of the design, but I need help manipulating the individual rectangular pieces that will fit together that I generated from the MakerBox website or MakerCase website.
Okay, interesting. So this one is the right one, I think. Or is there a second
Let's
version
see. I
then?
don't. There's one that was most recent. Yeah, I don't.
This is the most recent, I think, yes. I will open this up.
Okay. Yeah, that one.
Ah, okay, so these are those sides, and on top here are the... Yeah, okay. Let's see if we can first determine how big this artboard is, because it's in points, I see. I usually like to work... Well, it says an A4. Oh, A4 should be fine. We can get it in millimeters. Oh yeah, this is an A4 size. Okay, this is very good. And what do we need to manipulate?
But the box sides, the rectangular pieces are too small.
Ah, okay, so these should be bigger.
Yes, like I was gonna try to rotate them so they would fit on the A4 page, but so that I could kind of make them larger.
Well, what you can do, because it's important that they keep the same ratio, and so they don't one get slightly wider or taller, I guess. So maybe we can first maybe
Okay.
kind of align it a bit, because because this will really go inside of each other, I guess. So what we can do is take this. I will zoom in a little bit here and align this one. Sorry, this anchor point with this anchor point. Is it will align? Ah, you can see it's even a bit crooked. Or was that my bad?
It could have been me when I was trying to maneuver something.
Yeah,
I might have messed up the angle.
No, that's fine. We can also
I'm
kind of
sorry.
look at the maker case thing, and we can just make it here if you remember what the values were, or if you still have it open.
Yeah, I think that, let me see. I put the maker case values. I said the inside diameter was it kind of generated it for me too, but the inside diameter I had it as 63.28 millimeters, and the height of 20 millimeters. But yeah, I have a hard time contextualizing millimeters when I'm from an inches country.
Ah, yeah, you're from an inches country. Interesting. Okay, so then.
The only inches country.
Yes. Okay, but maybe we can then just really just think about inches, because inches is fine too. So, because if you put it in 63 millimeters and you click on the inch part, it will just automatically show you this is 2.5 inch. You know.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So you can and even
That's
enter it here like because for you inches feel more natural, so maybe like 5 inches would be better. Inside diameter, I mean, because then you have, and you can show in the millimeters, it's about 12 and a half centimeters. So that's good. Because now this distance from the top until the bottom will be, I guess, about 5 inches. Should be fine, right?
Okay. Yeah, now I'm having problems with the material thickness in the maker box, but anyway, I'm going to keep looking at what you're doing right now.
Well, the nice thing is that like the 1/8 of an inch is a very common thickness for material.
3 millimeters?
Yeah, and that's exactly, well, it's not exactly 3 millimeters. It might be a hair off, but it's very interchangeable between the countries. So, and we're using 3, so that's very good. You had a open box, I think, yeah. And we're using finger joints like this. And did you remove those finger joints at the bottom yourself in this version?
Yes.
Okay, okay, that's excellent.
I have no idea how I did it, but I did it.
Oh, you did it, yeah, perfect, okay. Because then I think this should already be fine, right? Yeah, I think so. It will be an interesting piece of. Yeah, it'll be interesting.
We'll see if it works.
Yeah, yeah, it should work, should work. Okay, we'll download these plans, and we need disabled spacing or labels, I mean. These are all fine. Like the curve and corner compensation is really about making it slightly bigger or smaller depending on the size of your laser or your cutter. Or so this is really advanced settings to make sure everything fits perfectly. But for our sake, it's really not needed. This is all fine. Okay, let's download the SVGs
Okay.
and open this in Skype, Illustrator, sorry. Okay, we don't need you. Oh, it's all one group, I guess. So we need to ungroup it, and we say we don't need you, we just need these. And at the moment, because we have it set up to millimeters, it will show us here that's 250 millimeters almost by 50 millimeters. So that's almost the size of an A4. And I think you use letter formats instead of A4. So this is about the size of the letter height, which is good. At least everything converted nicely. So now we just need to remove a part of the box. Are all these 6 pieces identical? I think they are. Or are they? Can we check? Because if they
E-
are identical, we just need to manipulate one and then these one are identical, yes.
and then copy it.
Yeah, and just get 6 of them,
Okay.
you know, that why would we manipulate 6 if we can manipulate one and clone it? These are all identical, very good. So we're just removing this and this. So now we just need to think about this one, and we don't want to have these finger joints. So what we can do, at least how I like to do it, I will just draw a rectangle from this point to wherever, but I'm making sure it's kind of staying this width. So I think I'll put it there. So now I have a shape on top of the other shape. And by combining the both of them, by selecting them both, so both are now selected. On the right side you have these options for combining stuff, so I can combine it and it will just merge the two shapes. So I think this is what we need.
Okay.
So in the future, if you ever want to
Okay.
remove something or even like make a little hole here, you can combine the two and say split and it will take away a part. See? So you can use certain shapes to add
Okay.
on or split stuff. Okay, so we have this and we
Okay.
can hold Alt and drag it out and we'll see that it fits. The only thing I need to kind of check in the original design is how does that... Oh, this is of course where that little finger join. Yeah, okay. Because I was wondering why does it suddenly stop here? What is happening in this area here? But that's also where one of the finger joints was doing stuff, I think. So there's a tall line
Oh,
here, then a
for
joint
the
finger, and then a finger, and then a tiny one. Yeah. And I think we can just let that be the same length.
okay.
So what we can do is, so what we can, this is just, because we don't have this bottom part, so we can make this side here on the bottom left kind of continue just like this finger here is doing. So what I will do is I will put a rectangle down and it will start here, it will go up to here. So, and now I need to also make it the right size, which is, I will zoom in because we're too far away. Oh, like this I guess. And now if we combine these two shapes,
Okay.
we just have this little stuff left. Can we remove this little dot? Oh no, oh that's connected super weirdly. Okay, I will do this better because this is really one of those, you need to do this nicely. But you see what I'm trying to do, I think. I'm trying to attach this here so
Yeah.
that it doesn't,
Yeah.
otherwise we get these weird gaps in your final design. I don't think that's what we want. Maybe I should put it in this corner. Okay, and now I can drag you out. I think I'll check by drawing a line from here to here if it's straight. Yeah, it's super straight. So we can move this line. And now if we combine it, will
Okay.
it be better now? Yeah, okay, this is what we need. Because
Okay.
now this side that we just made, it will fit into the side that has this hole left, basically. So it
Okay. I see what you mean.
should be okay. I think we can even make this one the same size as this because they're just fingers that are going to interlock. So whatever goes in, like whatever is extruding on this side, this little teeth, should match the same size hole on the other side. So
Same on the other side.
yeah, so I
Okay.
guess this we can fill this part up here because it's not really needed at the moment. So I think let's do another rectangle. It needs to align on that. Okay, we're gonna make ourselves a line so we have something to align to. There. I will remove that line later, but for now it's just a handle guide, and we're gonna click you there. Now we'll remove your line and we'll combine these two, and it should be better. Okay, I think this is what we need.
Okay.
So now if I get a
Okay.
second one of this, let's see if they match. If I put them here, you can see that they will have the
Yeah.
same kind of teeth. But
Match.
even the next time, if you want to make this and you don't know these kind of websites like MakerCase, you can already see how just being able to 3D visualize for yourself how one of the shapes should look like, and then playing around with them and interlocking them just in Illustrator to see if they match, it can already give you some quite some results. So it will
Okay.
just interesting for the future. Okay, we'll make 3 of these, I
Thank
guess,
you.
and then 6.
Yeah.
Um, like you could do this, but then the laser will go over the same area twice. And I'm not a fan.
Okay.
Sometimes this will mean it will hit the side that has just been freshly cut, and it will. I don't know. I like to kind of keep it a bit of a distance away. So
Okay.
you already made the hexagons, I saw, and you already gave them some holes. I see.
Holes, yeah. And
It,
so I need to put holes in 2 of these
yeah.
rectangles also.
Also, what I've noticed is that this one is a bit crooked. Know what I mean? So if I put a line here, you can see that
I'm
it's
sure.
yeah. But I will give you a little tip because we can save fix this easily. If I click on this shape, on the right side,
Okay.
it will give us some properties, so about the size and the position on our workspace. But it will also give us the angle of
Okay.
rotation, and you can see it's rotated by ½ a degree. So if we say 0 here,
Okay.
it will straighten
How did I do
itself
that?
out. Yeah, I don't know, accidentally moving something. But also, what would be nice is that these circles are in the exact middle of the shape, right? That might be nice. And that the
Yes.
distance between this hole and the border is the same here on the other side. So they will be kind of equally distanced. So if you will allow me, I kind of think I can show you how to do this in a more structured fashion.
Uniform fashion?
Yeah, uniform and
Okay.
structured fashion. So we will start with your polygon, and I'll just click because you can drag it out. But if you just click, it will ask you what do you want to make. And I think inches will even work. Did you have something in mind, inches-wise, the radius?
No, I didn't. It doesn't matter.
I think 2 inch
Just as
might
long
work.
as they'll fit
Ooh, that's really
inside
big.
the outer case.
Yeah, exactly. And this was what was it again? 5 inches, the inside diameter.
Yeah. So maybe like just 3/4 of an inch for each hexagon?
All right, and that's the diameter. So
Or is
what?
that too small?
Well, no, we can say 3/4 of an inch is about to. Then we can do this. No, that's fine. If you see that this is one of the sides, then if you have 3 of these, they will be kind of the same as the side. So they will be, yeah, well, I think they might be quite nice. I don't know. Should be okay.
Okay.
All right, but let's start with one. We have this one, and we're also gonna draw ourselves a tiny little circle. I'll just click again, and this is a circle that only needs to be able to feed through the little rope, the nylon string, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that really takes the smallest of holes, but let's make it a millimeter. That is okay. Um, what we can do now is we know that the distance, that this thing has a certain height. By the way, will they be hanging like this, or will they be hanging like this? Oh wait, not this. And now I will. No, this is not the right. I mean this, so that
I
the
was
point
going
is
to
up.
attach them at the top and bottom. They aren't really going to hang. They're all going to be kind of fixed at the top and bottom of the hexagon. So each. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
The point.
yeah.
I
Does it
like
point
that
up?
way.
Like this way? Okay,
Yeah.
then we'll do it like this. Very good. Again, I didn't. I just know that one whole rotation is 360 divided by 6. So I just entered 30 here because that's half a rotation then. Okay, and we need 2 of
Okay.
these. And what we also know, I think, this one has a height of 20 millimeters. So from point to point is 20. And what we kind of want to do is put this one somewhere here. And then we want to have the next one the same distance. But we can also kind of just realize already is that maybe we want to have some distance from the border until the hole, because if this one is here, it might break off or it will become fragile. That's not good. So we might want to
Yeah.
have 2 millimeters between them. So that means that we have 2 millimeters, then a hole, then some space, then a hole and 2 millimeters again. Or between the holes there's 16 millimeters.
Okay.
Because it's just 2 on both sides,
Yeah.
that makes 4. You can kind of think about it that way. So I'll move these, and I don't want to drag them all nicely, so I'll just select them. And here in the top we have a lot of alignment options. So we can say I want them aligned, I need to align them to selection, otherwise they will be aligning to the entire workspace. I want them to just relatively to each other
Okay.
to align. So now I can do this. And I can also make a little box for myself, and the box will have a height of 16 millimeters, because we know that is a good distance here. See, this part and that part.
Uh-huh.
Now I will align
Okay.
this one there and this one here, and I will remove the box. So we now know that this is 16 millimeters. I never want to change these in relative positions from each other. So these should stay together. So I'll make a
Okay.
group out of them. So when I click one, they will both be selected, and they will be just treated as one unit. Again, I'll select both, so
Okay.
both the hexagon and this grouped unit, and I also want to center them, so horizontally, but I also want to select them and do this, because now they are really perfectly aligned on both y and x axis. So I think this is
Okay.
how to do this, basically. And what will be a good thing now, as we talked about yesterday, the order of cutting, so the cutting sequence. And I think in this case, it might be better if we cut these little circles first and then do the outer boundary of the hexagon. Um, because if you cut the hexagon
Okay.
first, it might fall a little bit and then the holes will be misaligned. So I think it's very good that we'll do
Ah.
cutting 1 and then cutting 2. And the laser cutter reads from top down, so it will first do this and then that. So we'll move this little
Okay.
group. I will press Ctrl X to cut. I will select my first layer and I'll press Ctrl Shift V, because this Ctrl V just places them anywhere, but I want to place them where I
Okay.
got them
Okay.
from.
So I see.
Yeah.
So the layers, the designation of the layers is also it's also your instructions to the laser cutter of what to do
Exactly.
first,
Because
second, and third. Okay.
yeah, because when we're gonna open this file in the laser cutter software, which was this software here, I will open it again because it's full of stuff at the moment. It also has a layered option, so that means that you can have a layer with information in it, and you tell that layer to have a certain power and speed, which will make it engrave that layer. So you can really have this intricate sequence of instructions for the machine, so it doesn't ruin your design. Okay,
Okay.
I think you want a couple more of these. How many in total did you need?
I'd done 12.
Okay, you've done.
I'd
Yeah.
designated 12.
Okay, so we'll do 3 by 4. So I'll hold Alt and I'll click and drag to the right, so like this, and then I'll press Ctrl D to repeat what I just did. So that just instantly
Okay.
duplicates my last action. Then I'll select this, and I'll copy this
Do it 3
too,
times.
and I'll copy it kind of here, and
Okay.
also
Yeah, I
Ctrl
was
D.
unsure about. I know that you said I could with acrylic they could be close together, but I was unsure of how close I could group
Yeah.
all of the hexagons together.
You can get really close, and I'm guessing that in professional environments, like every millimeter of material is wasted is just unfortunate and not necessary. But in these little hobby
Okay.
ones, because you'll be using one sheet of acrylic, basically, a millimeter or two, just to give it some space to and some distance to breathe in. Was this already
Okay.
a nicely
So
made
so
thing?
there's just there's one more thing, which is two of the rectangular panels each have to have 3 holes in the center.
Yes, very true. So let's uh, take this one for example. This will be one of those top ones, right? So, and if we may look at the
Yes.
case, this will be, let's say, this one here at the top. So we'll have to have
Okay.
3 holes. Well, we can kind of do the same. We'll make a little circle. Okay, circle is there. Do you know, do we know the distance of this thing? I usually use a little rectangle tool and I'll start dragging it because it shows me next to my cursor that the width of this
Okay.
thing is about
I was just
69.
using my eye. Very imprecise.
Your eye is a good start, and then you learn that there's tools made for you. Yeah, exactly. So this is 69, and we want to divide it in, well, let's say 7 parts, because you can kind of count, let's say here. Why can I not draw? Is there something wrong with my drawing? Am I not allowed to draw today? No, I think I've been banned from drawing or something. Or do I need to give it some infill, maybe? Uh, yes, at some point my... No, drawing is just banned. Okay, then we'll just do it differently. We'll make some little dots here where... So this is 1, and then there's a 2, and we have 6 points in... 3 points in between, right? So we have 1, 2, and 3. And we want them to be
Okay.
equal. So in this case, we need to divide the length or the width of this thing by 5 points, because then we'll gives us a measurement of each of these.
Okay.
Well, in this case, even by 4, because there's 4 pieces in between them. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so follow along. We'll have a calculator here, and we saw that the width was, if I use a little box to measure this, the width is 69. So we'll divide 69 by 4, which is 17.25. Very good. So let's make a box, and it is the width 17.25. Okay. So we'll put this here to align with that edge. First circle will go there. Very good. I'll
Okay.
copy. I want another circle to use, and I want to be able to drag this circle. So I'll make one there, and I'll instantly make a copy of you because I know I need a third one. So there. We'll move the box 1 step over, so it just aligns there. Here goes another one. And then we'll move the box 1 over, and then this one goes there. And I think now we have aligned them quite perfectly based on this distance. So everything except for the teeth.
Okay.
And now we just need to take these 3 things. I will group them, because grouping is good for morale, I guess. Object, group. And we'll select these both, because we want them to be aligned. We wanted these to be in the middle uh, of these
Yes,
tops.
please.
Yeah. So I will align them
Yes.
like this. So I think this is what we need. And we need 2 of them, so I can remove you, and I can say I would like to copy this one. And let's make these go down a bit. So, oh, we didn't copy the entire thing, of course. Again, here it might be good to cut these out first, these little circles, and then cut out the outer shape, but we'll deal with that in a bit.
Okay.
So, because cutting one for now only, yeah, it only has those holes at the bottom, so we'll select this group and this group. And I'll Ctrl X to cut them, select the layer, and Ctrl Shift V to place them back where I got them from. Okay, I think we're getting almost there. I will make a new file which has actually the size of the laser cutting work space, so we can see if it fits.
Okay.
This stuff, I'll copy this into the untitled one. It doesn't copy the layers, but I will just make new layers, I guess. And as you can see, this will fit easily. It's you can even make 2 of them from one sheet of
Okay.
acrylic, I guess. Let's
Wow.
Yeah, you're using quite
Very
moderate.
efficient use of space.
Yes, and let's put these here, so those are very well together. And we'll have these rows, but maybe we can put 2 rows in like this maybe. Okay, let's put you a bit here. And we need to deal with these. I guess we do have to merge them there, but what happens if we now do this? Can we fit some here? Ooh, that would be nice if we can fit those there. Because then we can have a whole middle section full of hexagons and the top and bottom made of the stuff we need.
Oh yeah.
But it's then again we're gonna do one test first, so let's just concentrate on one section. These are 12, I believe. Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Well, as we learned, it's good to have a cutting sequence. I'll just call them 1 and 2, and we're gonna take out the little. Oh yeah, this is also an interesting thing. If it works, because I don't want to keep selecting all these same shapes. It will. I mean, I can do it, and it will take maybe 12 seconds, but I'm very lazy, so I think I can just select these, and I'll go to select the same. And there is, I think, appearance. See, now it's selected only the thing that looks like it. So for the
Oh, okay.
lazy person, this is a nice little workaround. Okay, we can check. It will first cut the small circles, yes, and then it will cut out the borders. Okay.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
should we
So
cut
is it
it
only
now
going to
or?
be is it only 2 stages?
Uh,
Yeah, sure.
Cutting wise, you
Sure.
mean? Yeah, this is 2 stages. Yeah, it's just gonna cut the circles first and then
Okay.
cut out those the border shapes of the hexagons and the construction itself. Yeah.
Okay.
But we can just start it if you want, and you can look on the webcam how it's going. So might be
Sure, that'd be
interesting.
awesome. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much for your help.
Oh, of
Thank you for
course.
your
This
help.
is. I wonder what it will look like because you are in America then, or you are not in America. Maybe you're in Europe,
No, I'm
or
in Riga.
oh, you're in Riga. Ah,
I'm
okay.
in Riga.
Okay. So there is a chance
Yeah.
that you can actually come and pick it up at some point,
Oh, yes. Yes.
or someone will actually bring it to you or something. Okay, that's very good.
Yeah, I'll have to talk to one of my professors.
Yeah. Let's see. We'll save this as a SVG file, and we'll. Yeah, Sabrina. I thought so. Sorry, I lost her name for a second. Sabrina.
Oh, that's okay. Don't worry about it.
Let's put this here. SVG 1.0 is good, and we'll go. Okay, I'll put on the webcam again so we can see what we're doing. We have the piece of acrylic, and I like to keep the protective layer on. You might have heard why. It just protects it while it's being cut, because sometimes there's little sparkles from the laser hitting the honeycomb grid here, because the laser just goes through and you get a little spark from the bottom. And if you have a protective film on it, it just protects your acrylic. So we're putting this one in. I will lower this a tiny bit so we can actually see what's happening. I need to focus it, so I'm just putting it in the middle of the workplace. I am loosening the mounting ring, I guess what it's called. There's a piece of acrylic standing here that I have to push down, so it is aimed towards the material. Then I can drop it so it touches the material. So you can see I can drop this entire thing, make sure it's standing on it, then I lock it in place and I raise this piece of acrylic back up so it's not getting in the way while it's operating. And now we have focused it, and now we just need to get the program to get your file and set some settings. And we're gonna do that in the Beam Studio. So this is your file, and it will ask us how to open this. We can merge everything down, but we know we have used layers, so we want to have these layers visible. And it will show us, it gave us the layers. Oh, I should not do this. On the right side, you can show weird names, but it works because the top layer, if I make them invisible, you can see it only consists of the tiny little holes there.
Dots.
The tiniest of
Okay.
ones. Yeah. And then this other layer is the actual outline stuff. I know that for acrylic, there's a very good value of 35 by 4 millimeters a second. And we'll do on both layers. They are cutting layers, so we should have the same settings on both. And the only thing now I need to do is take a picture with the machine, so I know that I am actually um, placing it down where there is some material and not just gonna cut in open air.
Okay.
So it went home, the laser head here, and now if I say to make pictures, like from this area, it will quickly move there. I can put this here and put which one? This one. So you can really see, like, I want a picture from this area, it will move there and makes a picture from that area. But this is fine. You can, if you look closely, you can see the acrylic laying here. So it gives us some guide
Yeah.
on where our material ends. So I can select everything here. And I like placing it as close to the edge as I can, but still holding a bit of safety margin. So let's say this is good. There's still some, because the camera is calibrated, but it can still be off by a millimeter or two. So I think we can set it to go. It will calculate the path it needs to take, and it will take 9 minutes to make. And I would say let's start. So in 9 minutes we can see if your stuff, what it looks like, and yeah.
Don't forget the ventilation.
Ventilation is indeed outside the window, but it's a very good remark that you made,
Okay.
especially for this kind of stuff.
I don't want to kill anybody there.
Exactly, and you can see how small these holes are. But then again, you're gonna pierce them with a nylon thread, I guess, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they are really, really tiny.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's always very, well, maybe if you can see it, I'm not sure if it's visible, but you can see there where the layer enters the acrylic, and then where the laser exits the acrylic, and there's a little difference in where it happens. So it's almost like the bottom layer is trailing the top one. And also you can see smoke developing around it. So like in that honeycomb pattern, those little cells of the honeycomb are being filled with the smoke that's being generated. And it's also sucking away a lot of smoke, so
okay, I think I can see it.
yeah, it's quite fake,
I
but
can
it's
definitely see the holes.
the holes you can really see. Yeah. Well, this will just take some time, yes.
Oh wow, that's cool. It looks like the shape.
It looks like what you made, yes, very good. And did you see that it fell a little bit when it was done with that shape? The shape dropped like half a millimeter. And you might be able to see it with this first hexagon. The moment it's done cutting it, it will drop a little bit because it separates from its main body. So yeah, you can really see it with that one. You saw that it actually drops out of the frame. So that's why that cutting sequence is so important. Like for yours would have been fine, but if you're making something that really has precisional stuff that needs to interlock, and then millimeter offset is just terrible for your design. Okay, I'll leave this camera on here for a second while I walk around. I will see if I can make it in a nice angle for you. Do we have some tape maybe? We do have some tape. Okay, this is okay, I think you can see what's happening, yeah. Very good, okay, I will ask some students here if they need help. No problem. For people in the teams, um, well, you can, I guess, really stay in the teams, and that's fine. In 10 minutes, I will stop communicating for a bit because I need to set some stuff up for the live stream that will happen at 5. That's also the stream that will be, that's a lecture by Friedrich, that he kind of popped into our team for a second. Um, so if you have questions, they will have to wait for a little bit. You can, of course, write all the questions. Ooh, they're so small, the little hexagons. They really are an inch across.
Are they?
Yeah,
Are they
but
too,
it looks nice, and it's
are
never.
they too small?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it really depends on what you want to make and what it's. If it's just a little sculpture of something, then I think it's quite nice. But because
Okay.
this is like something that can just stand on its own and have these moving on nylon parts in it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think then it's quite good.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's always good to
All
start
right. I'm glad
small.
it's gonna
So,
work, or I hope it's gonna work.
yeah, well, it should,
Yeah.
just make the knots big enough so it doesn't slide through that 1 millimeter hole. That's about it, I guess.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much for your help.
Yes, of course, of course. Liana also sent something to me as the files. I can check this. Okay, that's odd that it went there. Oh, Liana, yeah, very good.
I need to send them in different formats.
It's AutoCAD drawing. It might open that one. Okay, very good. I can check if it's if it will do this one. For me, your files are not opening, unfortunately, which is very odd. And there's the .buck. That's weird. It's just a DXF file, but it's not able to open it for me anyway. So yeah. Um, hmm. You check a date. The 11th is a Friday. Very good. One, two, three, four, five. Next one is the last panel, and then this cutting is done. Okay, I would also like to make the thing for Liane, but I am having trouble opening the files. So maybe you can save them as slightly different files, if that's possible. Not sure what program you're using
Yeah,
to
I
create
can
them.
do it. What kind of format should I save it?
What program are you using to design them?
AutoCAD I used.
Okay. And I haven't used AutoCAD. Can you get an SVG file out of it? Or when you're saving it as a DXF, can you check what version of DXF it is? Because for me the file just doesn't open, which is a bit odd.
It's 2018 version, I think.
Do you have an option to open the 2013 version? Well, it might be able to open in B mode. That might be good. I will give the cutter some time to clear out the ventilation to kind of remove the air. DXF, this one. Oh yeah, it can open them here, and there's two crows. Is that correct?
Yes, they're crows, so it works. I shouldn't say send different format.
Yeah. So what you can do for me, because what you said in your email is you want to have these cut out, so you have an acrylic silhouette of a bird, and then the leftover part can just be used as like a stencil for something, right?
Yeah, not
Yeah.
so also material is not wasted.
Yeah, exactly. That is very good. But in this case, I see that it has this line around it, and I can't access it. It is just one thing for me. And that line is not needed for cutting, of course, because the material we're putting in there is already a nice rectangle. So is it possible for you to send them in a way that there's only the silhouettes of the birds, but not this bounding box around it?
Yes, I can send.
Ah, perfect.
So, which was the real format that worked for you?
DXF is the format that works. Yeah.
DXF. Okay, I will send the DXF without that line.
Thank you very much. We will in the other time switch back to seeing if it worked. Let's see. Well, this is how it comes out because everything is left in there, so that's very good. And now we have a bunch of little things and a whole row of. Yeah, you can see this is not that I have enormous or tiny hands, but this is the size of the hexagon. So it's they are on the small side, but maybe you can work with it or say like, oh, we should make them 150% bigger, or I don't know. We can at least
Yeah.
check if they interlock. So like they should lock like this, right? Yeah. So it's on top of each other. Okay.
Yeah.
The only thing you will have to do, and that will be some interesting thing to do, is when gluing them, you will need to hold them in that angle because they can easily just go into a 90-degree angle, but you'll need to keep them into a. In this case, it's so how many degrees would it be? I don't know, some X amount of degrees.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't tell. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, you might even want to like make this little helper tool.